I'm like, bring it, all 8 inches of snow. I am ready for it. And my husband is like, we don't have little kids anymore. Why are you feeling that way? I'm like, it's so magical and the excitement. So maybe that's like one of the joys of teaching. You get to see the excitement multiplied when they see how much snow comes. I just remember being a kid and I just don't want to grow up, so it's fun. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to do a whirlwind. I want to show you something before I read a book to you, okay? So I wanted to, parents, we talked about reading aloud and the kids reading to you and listening to the reading. But another really important piece when they get to this age of reading is if they can find a book in a series or an author they really can connect to, it just makes it a lot more fun. Because then they're reaching for that next book and that next book. And when you get to know the style of an author, it's kind of like getting to know the style of your teacher. Kind of like what is going to come, what is expected. And the great thing is there's choice with the author. But we have to yeah, I did. But it's kind of cool because the characters will just do something different the next time. That they really get in line and get to know the characters. So I'm going to give you like a whirlwind explosion of some of the authors and series that are out there. You ready for this? All right. The first one that I have is, have you guys checked out this nonfiction? Yeah. The Who Would Win series? Yeah. Okay, well, it still's got some really cool. If you haven't, you need to check it out. Because, like some of the things, who would win? A Komodo dragon versus a king cobra? A Tyrannosaurus Rex versus, help me out guys, what is that? Thank you, a Velociraptor. I am not a dinosaur girl, so. Or how about an alligator versus a python? This one I thought was interesting. A jaguar versus a skunk? Woo! Okay, how many of you have ever faced a skunk? Okay, you guys know about my big shaggy dog. A lot of you have seen Boomer. Okay, he has gotten sprayed twice by a skunk. And I keep telling him, it's not a cat. But anyway, so this would be kind of interesting. And then there is the whale versus giant squid. And I thought it was interesting. So I'm going to quick show you a few pages. What would happen if a whale swam near a giant squid? They both are carnivores or meat eaters. What if they had a fight? Who do you think would win? The whale. How many think the whale? How many of you think the squid?
What kind of whale eats a giant squid?
Well, you know what? You're going to have to check out the book to see who would win. But they're going to give you some really good facts, okay? So, here's a squid.
I want to know now.
Oh, hey, that's why you got to check it out. But one thing I thought was interesting, check out their eyes. Okay, so they say that here is a human eyeball, and here is a giant squid eyeball. Here's a whale. So who could see better, the squid or the whale for the fight? The squid. So hey, something to check out. These books I am going to bring into, just so you know, so you guys like are ahead of your seat. You don't have to race to the library right afterwards to grab that book before somebody else. They're going to be in Mrs. Primo's and Mr. Rickard's class, and you can check them out. So they're not going to go away too fast. The next one that I have is, and I know a lot of you have seen this. A lot of you have read it. I don't know, parents. Was Captain Underpants a thing when you were younger? Okay, so, I'm like, holy cow, what is this? And I have never checked them out, and I have 4 boys and a girl, and nobody's brought Captain Underpants home, so it's like, I haven't really checked it out, but, I'm like, so how do you even come up with that idea? Is this like a creative idea? Is this something you would want to be? Yeah! I was not expecting that answer. All right, but I just wanted to, so I'm like, how in the world did this book even begin? So you know what, I just checked it out. Meet George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. And here it says, flower shop, pick your own roses. George and Harold were best friends. They had a lot in common. They lived right next door to each other, and they both were in the same 4th grade class at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School. George and Harold were usually responsible kids. Whenever anything bad happened, George and Harold, though, were usually responsible. But don't get the wrong idea about these two. George and Harold were actually very nice boys. No matter what anybody else thought, they were good, sweet, and lovable. Well, okay, maybe they weren't so sweet and lovable, but they were good nonetheless. And now look at this. Those boys went back, and it doesn't say pick your own roses. It says pick your noses. Hey, are they really good?
Yeah.
It's just that George and Harold each had a silly streak a mile long. Usually that silly streak was hard to control. Sometimes it got them into trouble. And once it got them into really big trouble. But before I tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. After a hard day of cracking jokes, pulling pranks, and causing mayhem at school, George and Harold liked to rush to the old treehouse in George's backyard. Inside the treehouse were two big, old, fluffy chairs, a table, a cupboard, crammed with junk food, and a padlocked crate filled with pencils, pens, and stacks and stacks. Now Harold loved to draw, and George loved to make up stories, and together the two boys spent hours and hours writing and drawing their very own comic books. Over the years, they had created hundreds of their own comics, starring dozens of their own superheroes. First there was Dogman, then came Timmy the Talking Toilet, and who could forget the amazing Cow Lady? But the all-time greatest superhero they ever made had to be the amazing Captain Underpants. George came up with the idea. Most superheroes look like they're flying around in their underwear, he said. Well, this guy actually is flying around in his underwear. The two boys laughed and laughed. Yeah, said Harold, he could fight with wedgie power. George and Harold spent entire afternoons writing and drawing the comic adventures of Captain Underpants. He was the coolest superhero ever. Now, luckily for these boys, the secretary at Jerome Howard's elementary school was much too busy to keep an eye on the copy machine. So whenever they got the chance, they would sneak into the office and run off several hundred copies of their latest Captain Underpants adventure. And after school, they would sell their homemade comic books on the playground for 50 cents each. Now, Mrs. Steinke, with that. There. But now you have seen how the amazing Captain Underpants has come into being. He is the brainchild of these two boys who are sweet, lovable, and really good. So,
And silly.
and silly. Okay, so like, you know, there were some titles I thought were kind of just interesting. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Hopefully your toilet doesn't talk to you. It's usually not a good sign. Okay, there's Captain Underpants and the sensational saga of Sir Stinks-a-Lot. And there's the, ooh, this has some really good words in the title. I don't know, I mean, you would expect that from this comic book, like, but Captain Underpants and the Preposterous Plight of the Purple Potty People. Okay, one thing I did not share with you, though, it is more of a graphic novel. And it's got the comic books, or the comic strips, that is very attractive. Mrs. Deere, have you read these books? Anyway, so, can you see where they might be interesting? All right, we're going to have a rush on those. And then, that was followed up by, I know you've seen the Dark Diaries. Kids enjoy those too, and they're much, this is interesting too. This one is talking more like a diary where they journal and share their thoughts, and every once in a while there are some pictures. But I know the kids really enjoy these. Okay. So then, sometimes it's fun to go back in life and see what life was like before you were born, like way before you were born. And have you read any of the American Girls? These are pretty good, aren't they? You can kind of see what life was like back a while ago. And I had this one right here. I've got some notes because here it is. So this one is Meet Rebecca, and it goes all the way back to 1914. And it's historical fiction. It lets the kids know what life was like back then, but it's through telling a story. And these are pretty cool, and there's a whole series of different girls. Yeah, they go back to the pioneer days, and oh, this one hurts. I'm just gonna let you know this one hurts because like this is like going back in time, and that's around the time I was born. So in 1974, they're taking it back. No, that's history.
1974 is when you were born.
5 years prior. But you know, we don't have to repeat that. All right, newsflash. I'm going to be a grandma in a couple of days. So I call myself a junior grandma. Anyway, so lots of cool going back in times. But I wanted to share a little bit from this Meet Rebecca book. It's kind of cool. Rebecca Rubin longs to be the center of attention, but it's not easy in a family of 5 children. When mysterious cousin Max, the actor, tells her the secret to pleasing an audience, Rebecca can hardly wait to try it out. Then she learns that her young cousin Anna and her family are in danger and they must escape from Russia. So back in these days, there were people that were in other countries, just like today, that are kind of fleeing their countries and coming to America for safety. So her cousin needs to escape it, but they need to have some money. So Rebecca decides to raise money for their passage by putting on a show right in her New York City neighborhood until her disapproving grandmother steps in. Unexpectedly, Rebecca finds another way to earn money, but she knows that for her plan to work, she'll have to keep it a secret. So it's talking about how back in 1914, this girl was helping her cousin and be safe. So pretty cool story. So girls and guys can be interested in those. But there also are these are really cool too. And I know a lot of you have read these. I Survived. How many of you have read one of these? How many of you have not read one of these? You might want to check it out. Love it. Okay, you know what? We can check books out for adults here too. But these are awesome. These are also historical fiction and go back in a time. And I don't know, I was not born in this time, but I'm kind of stuck. This is the I Survived the Shard Attacks of 1916. So it goes back over 100 years ago. I'm just going to read a small bit for this. So be ready. Don't be scared all day. You are. There's no water for the sharks to come and get you. We have snow, so we're safe. Okay. July 12th, 1916. Elm Hills, New Jersey, in the Manitoba. You think there's going to be a shark coming in the snow?
Yeah.
Teach it a little bit more. All right, a feeling of terror came over 10-year-old Chet Rascal. A chill deep down in his bones. He had been swimming in the Matawan Creek by himself, but he had the idea that someone was watching. And then he saw it. A large gray fin slicing through the water like a knife. What was that? Could it really be? A shark? That was impossible. Elm Hills was miles and miles from the ocean. How could a shark find its way into the sea? There was no way. But now Chet could see it swimming towards him. The gigantic shark got bigger. It was bigger than Chet himself. The black eyes staring up through the water. Killer eyes. Chet dove towards the shore, pounding through the water, kicking with all his might. His feet touched the bottom. He was running now, looking over his shoulder. The shark was right behind him. Its huge jaws wide open. Its white dagger teeth gleaming in its blood red. Should be a good read, what do you think? So, these are going to be available for you to check out.
You know that our song was going in my head the whole time.
Okay, so, another really cool series is, how many of you remember the fairy tales? You know, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay, so there is an author that did something that was pretty cool. Leslie Sherlock, she rewrote it. It's called, what I wanted to share with you is it's the fairly true story of Little Red Riding Hood. So it makes up a lot of adventure that goes along the way and tells the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Really cool read. She's not little, she looks a little older. And you guys and gals are going to experience the story of Rump in a few weeks, right? Or a month or so. And I know this is a favorite of kids. So I just want you to be aware of. So after you go through this book, there are 2 more, and they're really cool. So it's the story, the fairy tale retold in a more, how would you say it?
Adventurous.
But it's adventurous?
Adventurous.
More adventurous way.
More detailed.
Gets you really into
Rump
it.
is one of my most favorite books. The favorite book I have in 4th grade to read. That's the favorite.
Just pretty cool. All right, almost. And then I do have Gordon Corman. This guy, this author is really cool. Did you know that he has written over 80 books?
Whoa.
Do you know that he was a child author? Did you guys know that when he was, it said like when he was in 7th grade, and he's from Canada, by the way, so he's a little fish. The track and field coach had to teach English. And for creative writing, he gave them total freedom to work on whatever they wanted for the rest of the year. So in February, he started to write this novel, This Can't Be Happening at McDonald Hall. And so that was 7th grade, and I think it was by the time he was in high school, he actually published his first book. So that was kind of cool. So it was something that he got involved in middle school and became an author, and he was so successful that he wrote over 80 different books. And some of his books, I have heard, have become a movie. Have you heard that? I think Swindle. These ones right here. Have you seen these books? Something to check into it. And these are not a series. So these are just really awesome books by this author that you can read. But after a mean collector named Swindle, Hans, this 11-year-old who had found the most valuable baseball card, Griffin Big must put together a band of misfits to break into Swindle's compound and recapture the card. There are many things standing on their way. A menacing guard dog. You see it? Kind of like that. A high-tech security system. A very secret hiding place. And their inability to drive. That's a problem. How are you going to break into something and get something back if you can't drive to get there? So they got to figure out all these things. But they're going to get back that card, that baseball card that is so valuable. And they go through this whole paper to get there. And parents, they kind of say it's like a children's book of Ocean's 11, but it's kid characters. So, something to check out. And then I did have, he also writes sports ones too. This one, football one, and this one's pretty popular. Get it? So, and then I had one more to share with you before I spin into the next one.
I know that book. Those books, they're the best.
They're the best. Oh, you know what? There is nothing better than having a classroom peer tell you that these books are the best. Because that means you guys probably will really enjoy them. So, one more. Where'd it go? This one's got a better. That's what this label has for messing with our purpose. Anyways, this one right here, the Genius Files, is pretty cool because it's about 11-year-old twins named Pepsi and Coke. Now, how would you guys like that if your parents named you, you're going to be Pepsi and you're Coke? That kind of silly. Well, they go in an RV and they go across the country, across the United States, and get into adventures, and different things happen. But it's really cool, parents, too, because as they go across the United States, they point out different spots. And a lot of this story, the Genius Files, takes place in Wisconsin. So that's kind of cool.
And by the way, the last name is McDonald.
Oh, gets even better. Pepsi McDonald, Coke McDonald.
And there are people trying to kill them.
All right, you know what? I found something. No, you're good. Because I found something that I want to quick show you on this, and then I have a quick story for you, because the last time I did this and didn't share a story, they complained. They complained. Do you want to hear a book too?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a full one. I've been giving you little excerpts. I got one. But this is how Dan Gutman kind of saw the characters in his mind and how he pictured it. And so he made a trailer for his book. Now this book has been out for like 8 years. It was 2011. So you want to go ahead and show that trailer? Because I thought it was pretty cool.
We also have a full DVD of
This is how he pictured his book. that how you pictured it when you were reading it? All right, I think
Yeah,
so.
I still get
So, well, that one's kind of cool because it takes you to different spots. And so, like, how many of you have eaten Spam? Do you guys know what Spam is? I think they still sell it in stores. So maybe you should have your parents say, hey, can you try some Spam? All right, here we go. This is the last thing. I saw this book and I thought this was kind of funny. How many of you love vegetables? I like them. How many of you like broccoli? Green beans. Okay, not a lot of hands. So this one is a good one for you. It's called How Martha Saved Her Parents from Green Beans. Every Tuesday evening, Martha's family had green beans for dinner. She looks really excited about it. The dog really wants the green beans. Yeah, you see that? Every Tuesday night, Martha was left alone at the table, staring at a plate of green beans that she wouldn't eat. Green beans are good for you, said her mother. Green beans will make you strong and big, said her father. They were both wrong, thought Martha. Green beans are bad, very bad. But even Martha did not know how bad green beans could be. Not until the day that a gang of mean green beans swaggered into town. These beans had black beady eyes and long curly mustaches. They wore tall cowboy hats and sharp, pointy boots. They chased the old ladies up and down the street. They threw rotten tomatoes at the teachers. They stormed into restaurants and tossed the cooks into the garbage cans. And anyone who ever said, eat your green beans, was in big, big trouble. Martha's parents were reading in the den when the beans barged into the house. The beans had jumped on top of the furniture. They tied their parents with long leafy vines. They whooped and hollered and made rude noises. Martha was in the kitchen, staring at a plate of whole beans. When she heard the ruckus, she ran into the den. It was empty. The front door was open, and a note was tacked to the wall. We have taken your parents, the beans. Now, do you think she's going to be sad about that? No. You guys are right. No more parents meant no more nagging to clean up her room. No more parents meant no more going to bed when she wasn't sleeping. And no more parents meant no more green beans for dinner, ever. Hooray! Shouted Martha. She threw her plate of cold green beans right out the window. Then she grabbed a box of cookies and settled on the couch to watch her favorite movies, long past her bedtime. Martha was happy. Did you guys do this in the house? But not really. She missed her parents and wanted them back. By morning, she knew what she had to do. She marched out of her house and followed the trail of leaves that led her to the cave. Outside the cave, she saw her mother and father tied to a rock. They were surrounded by hundreds of green beans, laughing and dancing and singing off-key. Give me back my parents, shouted Martha. The beans didn't even look at her. Untie them right now. The beans only snickered. Let my parents go, or I will. Or you will what? Said the beans. I will eat you, said Martha. The air grew cold, and the singing stopped, and the dancing stopped. The leader of the beans stepped forward and spat on the ground. You will not eat us, he said with an evil sneer. You have never eaten a green bean in your life. He took a step closer to Martha, then another, and another. And with every step, the bean seemed to grow larger. He climbed onto a rock and looked Martha in the eyes. You are too much of a coward to eat a green bean. Martha's legs felt like melting butter. She wanted to run home and hide beneath her bed. Pinched her nose, opened her mouth, and swallowed that bean in one big gulp. Did you want to eat a hairy bean with a... Yeah. The other beans gasped. Martha ate those beans too, and then she untied her parents. They hugged her and kissed her and told her that she was very brave. crunch, crunch, crunch. It's like the dog finally got his beans on. From that day on, Martha's family never had a green beans for dinner again. Instead, they had broccoli or corn on the cob or a nice leafy salad. Everyone knows that there is nothing bad about a nice leafy salad. Or is there? So, I don't know at lunch today when you guys go down there, go and look and see if any of your veggies have hats, boots, mustaches. Eat them all, or they might take over the lunchroom. Could be a bad story. All right, with that, I know we've gone a little longer, but